someone reported having memory loss, probably from drug and alcohol abuse in their past. So can you get better and what to do? This is a really great question. And so I'm going to share with you not only what to do to recover from drug and alcohol abuse, but also how to recover from traumatic brain injury and potentially stroke.
Welcome to the Brain Fit Podcast, where we share the cutting-edge science on how you can improve your memory and live a happier, healthier life.
Welcome to the Brain Fit Podcast. My name's Robert Love. I'm a neuroscientist and I specialize in helping people prevent Alzheimer's disease with science. Today, I'm doing an Ask Me Anything podcast. I actually have TikTok Live up here, and I'm taking questions from people live, so that way you can answer the questions that you want answered most. So the first question, I think a lot of people want to know this, is how to improve sleep. So someone specifically said, I'm a 62-year-old woman. I'm having trouble sleeping. What can I do? Great question. So a couple of things. First, sleep is one of the most important things that you do for your health. One of the most important things you do. Brian Johnson, one of the world's leading anti-aging experts, said that his primary job, he is a professional sleeper. That is the most important thing he does to slow down and reverse aging. Write that down. The most important thing you can do to slow down and reverse aging is sleep. Also, that is one of the most important things that you can do to improve your brain health. If you don't sleep, if you get poor quality sleep for just one night, that increases the amount of amyloid plaque in your body and amyloid plaque in your brain. That is the plaque that is associated with Alzheimer's disease. So this is a very big deal. So sleep is essential. Sleep is when we wire up new memories. And then when we sleep, we actually get a cleansing of the brain. It's called the glymphatic system. It's like the lymphatic system for your brain. This was discovered in 2015. Prior to that, we didn't know that we got this brainwashing. And what happens is more cerebral spinal fluid flows into your brain at night as you sleep. And this helps wash out plaques and toxins. So sleep is good for every cell of your body. And if you don't sleep, there's some serious risks. Not getting enough high quality sleep increases the risk of all-cause mortality. That is death from all causes. There's a great study out of the United Kingdom, and they looked at people who slept 5 hours or less and those who slept 7 hours or more. Those who slept 5 hours or less had an increased risk of all-cause mortality. That's death from all causes. So they're more likely to die of heart disease, more likely to get dementia, more likely to get cancer, hit by a bus, car accident, fall off a ladder, you name it. Any sort of death, they're more at risk because their decision-making is poor and their health is poor. And I'm reading and listening to the book by our new Surgeon General, Dr. Casey Means from Stanford. Love Dr. Casey Means. She is such a blessing to the world. Great book called Good Energy. In this book, she shares, if you get poor quality sleep, that impairs your ability to process insulin. It impairs your ability to process glucose. It hurts your metabolism. Just one night bad sleep. And they did this study where I think they had young men who were 18 or 19, and they basically had them get bad sleep for 4 nights. And just that amount, bad sleep for 4 nights in young men, basically caused a metabolism that was like pre-diabetes. So write this down. Poor sleep for 4 nights in a row can give you a metabolism of a pre-diabetic. And that means you're not processing sugar correctly and your insulin response is off. You're not getting good energy. It's damaging your mitochondria and so forth. Really, really important to know about this. So what to do about sleep? So first, let's talk about your sleep environment. So a lot of people make this mistake. If you have a television in your bedroom, this is a mistake. If you do work in your bedroom, or if you do work in your bed, this is a mistake if you want high quality sleep. Let me explain. We as human beings are creatures of habit, and our brain associates certain environments and environmental cues with certain behaviors. And so the ideal situation is that your bedroom, specifically your bed, is restricted for the purpose of sleeping and sex. Even better, have sex other places in the house and just keep your bed for sleeping. But most people, generally speaking, especially if you have family, just keep your bed for sleep and sex and nothing else. That means no watching TV, no doing work, no answering emails, no scrolling on your phone, and no fighting with your partner in bed. If you're going to fight with your partner, first of all, don't do it at night. That's the worst time to do it because it's hard to resolve things. Do it in the day after a nice cup of tea and a walk outside when you're relaxed. Don't have arguments at night before bed. That'll disrupt your sleep. And so have your bedroom specifically for sleep, and that will help prime your brain when you go to bed, when you get into bed. Hey, it's time for me to go to sleep. Second of all, do not watch scary movies before bed, and do not watch thrilling movies before bed. I recently watched the Mission Impossible movie. By the way, Tom Cruise is amazing. He does his own stunts. He's actually on the wing of a plane holding onto it as it's flying. Really scary, dangerous stuff. By the way, that movie is extremely loud. I recommend you bring your earplugs because hearing loss is a significant risk factor for Alzheimer's disease. And I measured the levels on my phone, and it is up to the level that it can cause hearing loss. So definitely bring your earplugs if you're going to see that movie in the theaters. Movies like that increase our adrenaline. And when we increase our adrenaline before we sleep, that makes it harder to fall asleep. And so what does this mean? It means you want to do, if you want good sleep, you want to do things before bed that are going to help relax you and prepare your brain and your body for sleep. And so this means, so you can watch comedy. If you're going to watch something, let's say an hour and a half before bed, you can watch a comedy or something silly. Don't watch something serious, something sad, scary, or super exciting, because you're going to get that adrenaline rush, and that is going to wake you up, and that is going to make it more difficult to fall asleep and get that deep sleep. So we got your environment, your bedroom, and your bed is only for sleep. Number 2 is not watching scary things or social media before bed. And social media actually might be worse, because social media, specifically scrolling on social media, is designed by very, very smart people. And these people have dedicated their professional career to find out what they need to put in front of you to keep you scrolling. Why? Because when you're scrolling, you're much more likely to buy. Having people make late night purchases while they're scrolling social media is big, big business. And I don't want you to spend your money that way. And I don't want you to impair your sleep. So my sincere recommendation, and Dr. Casey Means recommends this in her book as well, turn off phone, TV, basically turn off all screens 1 hour before bed, at least 1 hour before bed, ideally 2. So it's really important that your bedroom is just for sleep. Don't do work in there. The worst thing you can do is do work right before bed. I learned this the hard way. I would stay up late doing work because I love my work and there's a lot to do. And I would find myself doing work and then immediately trying to get into bed, brush my teeth, get into bed. And what would happen when I would do that is I would have troubles falling asleep, and I would be thinking about work and dreaming about work, and my sleep was restless. I know, I'm sure many of you can identify with this. So turn off the work. I recommend turning off the work 2 hours before bed. Turn off TV, phone, social media 1 hour before bed, ideally 2, but at least 1 hour before bed, and that will really prepare your brain for sleep and prepare your body for sleep. Next, something that's really good is to have blue blockers. I like to put these on about 30 minutes before bed. These are made by Dave Asprey. They're called True Darks. They're very dark red lenses. And when I put those on, that's about 30 minutes before bed. And that trains my brain. That's a psychological signal to tell my brain it's time to relax. Not only are the red lenses relaxing because it blocks out a lot of light, which helps increase my melatonin production, but it also is a signal, a conscious signal that says to the brain, hey, we are going to be going to bed soon. That's really important. Brushing your teeth can also be that signal. So it's good to have a nighttime routine. So the nighttime routine I recommend is, as we talked about, turning off social media and TV and phone 1 hour before bed, turning off work 2 hours before bed, and then then that last hour, have that be a routine where you're brushing your teeth, maybe you're cleaning up your home, putting on your jammies, and then doing your preparation in the bathroom, and then stretch your body. I have a couple stretches that I like to do, and it's a great time to practice meditation or prayer or breath work to relax the body. I would like to thank our sponsor, Optimizers. They make great supplements that are good for your brain and good for your overall body as well. My favorite supplement that they make is Masszymes. This contains digestive enzymes that help break down fat, protein, and carbohydrates. I love taking this in the morning with my bulletproof coffee, which has a lot of fat in it, so it helps break down the fat. And I like to take this at night before my largest meal, which is dinner, to help break down the fat and protein and carbs from my biggest meal. If you'd like to try this, you can try this risk-free and get 10% off. So to get that, go to buyoptimizers.com/love, and you can try this or any of their great supplements and save 10%. And then journaling. I recommend everybody try journaling for at least 2 weeks before bed. This is a great way to improve your quality of sleep. I learned this first from the Tim Ferriss podcast, and he was interviewing Dr. Matthew Walker, who is a sleep doctor. And what he shared was that when you journal, you want to get out the things that are on your mind. And so if there's a conversation you need to have, if there's a to-do list you want to get out, if somebody did something that's upsetting to you and you want to make sure that you address it tomorrow, or if you need to discipline your child or discipline your husband, write that down. So especially for those who want to have relationship conversations at night, instead of doing that, write down what it is that you want to discuss with your partner and then talk about it tomorrow. That way you don't need to think about it at night. When you take paper and pen and put your ideas down there that you're thinking about, this releases them from the need of your brain to keep on remembering them. And so you can relax and go to bed. That's a great thing to do. And then number 2, I recommend writing something you want to remember from the day. You can write down things you're grateful for. Great idea. I do a WWW, which is what went well today. So I do here's all the things that went well today. I like to remember those. And then my favorite memories. What do I want to remember today? I do not recommend writing down all the things that went wrong today, because I don't think you want to put those to paper and try to remember those. So don't write down the things that went wrong unless you need to address them. So if you hired a new employee and they did a terrible job today, you might write down, talk to a new employee or improve training processes. That's fine. But don't write down the things that were upsetting. Instead, write down the things that you want to remember, and then you can look back at your journal and have a wonderful experience. But really, just journal for 5 minutes and get out the things that are on your mind, especially the things that you want to address in the near future. And that will allow you to sleep much more deeply, and you won't be thinking about work and thinking about those things at night. Lastly, people really like to talk about sleep supplements. I will give you a couple of them. There are many of them. First, I recommend magnesium. I recommend magnesium pretty much throughout the day. Certain types of magnesium can upset your stomach. And so I've taken magnesium. There was a certain magnesium glycinate I took at night, and I found that actually upset my stomach. So I now take that earlier in the day. Magnesium threonate is great for the brain. You can take that. But these are things you want to test during the day just to see how it affects your stomach before taking it at night. Because if you take it at night and it upsets your stomach, that can kind of kill a good night's sleep. So magnesium is terrific. It promotes relaxation. So you can either take that before bed, you can take it with dinner, after dinner. And then magnesium is also really good first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. If it's magnesium glycinate, that's the more gentle form of magnesium. I do not recommend magnesium citrate and magnesium oxide. Those can really cause stomach upset, cause you to run to the bathroom. They're also not very well absorbed. So I'd start with magnesium glycinate. Next, I learned this from Dr. Andrew Huberman, a neuroscientist at Stanford. It is apigenin. Apigenin is an extract from chamomile tea, and that helps promote relaxation. It also has benefits regarding neurogenesis, and which is the growth of new brain cells, and it also has anti-aging benefits. This next one's controversial. It is melatonin. So melatonin is a sleep hormone, and it's secreted by our pineal gland, and we are deficient in melatonin because of all the indoor lights. I'm inside right now. There are lights right here. Most of us have lights on at night pretty much until we go to bed. And the challenge is that we have a lot less darkness in our lives compared to our ancestors. And the result is we have more light coming into our eyes. That increases something called melanopsin, which reduces melatonin. So the key thing you want to know is that light at night reduces melatonin. This is a problem not only for our sleep. Melatonin is also associated with many different health benefits. It has longevity benefits. It has anti-cancer benefits. A good oncologist will often recommend 20 milligrams of melatonin for people undergoing chemotherapy. Why? Because it has an anti-cancer benefit and it has very few side effects. I don't recommend that anyone take large doses like that before consulting your doctor. By the way, I'm a neuroscientist. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not giving you medical advice. Please consult your medical professional before doing anything that affects your health. With that being said, high doses of melatonin can be very helpful for people who are undergoing chemotherapy. And that's been documented in the research. And there's many different benefits of melatonin. Now, just for sleep, you can start with a very low dose. a gram, 2 grams, 3 grams of melatonin. You don't need more than that to fall asleep. Some people do well with melatonin, some people don't, and there's so many varieties out there. I would like to take a brief break and acknowledge our sponsor, Air Doctor. So it is a really good idea to get an air filter for your home, your office, and especially your bedroom, because our air is not clean, and unclean air can bring toxins into our body, and that can hurt our brain. Dr. Dale Bredesen talks about the importance of getting a HEPA filter. Now, Air Doctor is a very sophisticated air filter. It filters out 10 particles 100 times smaller than a regular HEPA filter. So it's very high quality. If you want to try an Air Doctor, it is a great product. I use it. I have one right next to me. I have one in my bedroom when I sleep, and I use it next to me in my office when I work during the day. So if you'd like to try an Air Doctor, go to airdoctorpro.com/love. That will give you a really nice discount. I take a supplement. I'm not sponsored by this company. They're called Carlisle. They have a 5 milligram supplement. You can cut, if you're just starting out, I recommend cutting that in half, and you can stick it under your tongue. And I do that just before getting into bed, and because it absorbs very quickly. And so that way increases my melatonin just so I'm in bed, and then I can fall asleep more easily. And so next, another one that helps promote relaxation is called L-theanine. L-theanine. This is an amino acid found in green tea and black tea that promotes relaxation, reduces stress, reduces cortisol. This is great for people like me who have attention deficit disorder, who can get wound up at night. Also, really like this with my coffee. So I have an Oura Ring. And the Oura Ring not only measures sleep, by the way, if you're serious about improving your sleep, I recommend getting an Oura Ring, and then you can track your sleep. By the way, you know the old saying, maybe it's a new saying, what you measure improves. So just by measuring your sleep and looking at it, it's likely to improve because we're more aware of it. Those of you who exercise know that when you write down your workouts, they're more likely to improve because you're aware of them. And those who do food logs, when you write down your food journal, the quality of the food you eat is more likely to improve because you're measuring it. You're much more aware of what you're eating. So my Oura Ring told me that when I would drink coffee in the morning, I had higher levels of stress during the day. Well, that was news to me. And so I started taking L-theanine with my coffee, and then my stress levels went down. So I love L-theanine with coffee. L-theanine is great for those who have attention deficit disorder, those who have anxiety, and it's really great before bed. I love it. And so lastly, the last supplement I want to share with you, it's great for sleep, is called lion's mane. Lion's mane is a medicinal mushroom used in ancient Chinese and Japanese medicine, and we're just now learning in Western medicine how powerful it is. Now, disclaimer, I have a lion's mane supplement, so I'm very biased, and the research shows lion's mane is terrific for sleep. In double-blind, placebo-controlled studies, lion's mane improves the quality of sleep in people. So that's really cool. Lion's mane also reduces depression and anxiety in double-blind, placebo-controlled studies. There's one study, it's called the cookie study. Well, I call it the cookie study. And half the people got a lion's mane supplement. These were women in the study. And half the people got a lion's mane cookie, and half the people got a placebo cookie. And after 30 days, the group that ate the lion's mane cookie had significantly less depression and anxiety than the placebo cookie. So that's really cool. Lion's mane also improves memory. It improves memory in human and animal studies. Lion's mane is recommended by some of the top neurologists who are in Alzheimer's prevention to help protect the brain. And lion's mane can even help grow new brain cells. It does this by increasing a growth factor in the brain called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. That's a growth factor that facilitates the growth of new brain cells and new neural connections. My favorite use of lion's mane is improving my sleep. I've struggled with sleep for years, specifically because I had attention deficit disorder, still do, and I was often taking stimulant medication, and I like to work late at night, so I'd be on my Adderall, be working late at night, and then I'd try to go to sleep. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, and I would have trouble falling back to sleep. Now, I no longer take Adderall on a regular basis, and I stop my work earlier in the evening, ideally 2 hours before bed. Not always. I'm not perfect, but I try to do it, stop 2 hours before bed. And then I'll take my lion's mane before getting into bed. And what's great is when I wake up in the middle of the night, I usually wake up most nights somewhere between 2 and 4 a.m., I'm able to fall back to sleep. So lion's mane has helped me fall back to sleep. This is a really big deal because I used to wake up at 2 a.m., check my clock, and now I'm stressed. Oh my gosh, it's 2 a.m. Am I going to be able to get back to sleep? I have important work to do tomorrow. Then I'm stressed. Then I'm, every 15 minutes I'm looking at the clock, unable to fall back to sleep. Now when I take lion's mane, I'm able to, when I wake up in the middle of the night, I can see that it's still dark outside, so it's not time for me to wake up. I'm able to lay still or lie still and fall back to sleep. So that's been really helpful to me. So those are some really great supplements that you can take to help fall asleep. If you are having trouble sleeping, I have a great supplement I want you to know about. It's called Roar Lion's Mane. So Lion's Mane has many different benefits for the brain and for the body. Lion's Mane improves memory. Lion's Mane reduces stress, reduces anxiety. It helps slow down aging by lowering inflammation, and it helps with sleep. It helps you fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer, and fall back to sleep. I learned about Lion's Mane about 5 years ago when I was having trouble sleeping. When I took it, after about a week, I noticed that I was sleeping better and I was able to fall back to sleep, and I was having vivid dreams, which is really cool. And now I take Lion's Mane 5 to 6 nights a week. And I do this because it helps me fall back to sleep. So when I wake up, I'm no longer anxious when I wake up, and I'm able to kind of lay still in bed and fall back to sleep. And I get vivid dreams, which I really like, and it improves my REM sleep. So if you'd like to try some of my Roar Lion's Mane risk-free, go to roarlionsmane.com or robertlove.net to learn more. First, I want to make sure you're starting with turning off the phone. Definitely stop scrolling social media. That's the most dangerous before bed. 1 hour, ideally 2 hours before bed. Stop the work 2 hours before bed. Get yourself a nighttime ritual, a journal, and then you can try some sleep supplements. And then the next morning, this is really important, get sunshine, ideally in your first hour upon waking up. So get outside in the sun, no sunglasses for 15 minutes, a 15-minute walk. It's a great thing to do in the morning. By the way, I love practicing prayer on my walk, just gratitude, just thanking God for me being alive and that I'm here, that I had a good night's sleep, and that there's a flower there and that the sun is out. And so I practice gratitude and prayer on my 15-minute walk outside in the sun. And that sunshine helps set your circadian rhythm of the day. It's called a Zeitgeber, which is a fancy word for something that helps set your circadian rhythm. And what this does is this triggers processes in the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is part of your brain that controls the circadian rhythm. And this tells you, hey, it's morning. And then this helps you become tired 16 hours later, right? So we're awake. And then in the evening, our brain says it's time to go to bed. And so getting early morning sunshine, getting outside in the sun within the first hour of waking is one of the best things you can do to set your circadian rhythm. So that way you are tired 16 hours later, and then you go to bed. So those are some things you can do for sleep. Question number 2 was someone reported having memory loss, probably from drug and alcohol abuse in their past. So can you get better and what to do? This is a really great question. And so I'm going to share with you not only what to do to recover from drug and alcohol abuse, but also how to recover from traumatic brain injury and potentially stroke. So if you've had a stroke or concussion, or concussion or traumatic brain injury, or you've engaged in drug and alcohol use that's impaired your brain, this could be really helpful. And so, by the way, again, check with your medical doctor before doing any of these things. These things are generally safe for healthy adults. So first of all, alcohol is basically poison for your brain. Drinking heavy amounts of alcohol impairs brain function. It impairs memory. Those who black out 2 times a year have a significantly higher risk of Alzheimer's disease. I drank way too much in college. I blacked out a number of times. I had poor behavior when I was drinking too much. It was a bad idea. And so for young people listening, I want to suggest not drinking too much alcohol or not drinking any alcohol at all. And then for those of you who are older adults, try tapering down the alcohol or eliminating alcohol. I stopped drinking alcohol maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I'd been drinking very little at that point, but I feel so much better and I sleep so much better. And this is one of the first things you want to do to recover. If you want to heal your brain, one of the most important things to do is sleep. Whether it's concussion, whether it's stroke, whether it is drug and alcohol use, you want to sleep. Sleep is medicine for your brain. Sleep is good for every cell of your body. Sleep is when your brain wires up new memories. Sleep is when your brain cleanses itself. Sleep is when your brain repairs itself. So prioritize your sleep if you want to heal your brain. Number 2, you want to give your brain high quality nutrients to rebuild and repair your brain. So if you have brain damage, whether it's from drug and alcohol abuse, concussion, or stroke. By the way, stroke, there's often brain damage from stroke because part of your brain has been deprived of blood and oxygen for a period of time. And so that creates some brain atrophy. And so we want to give you the raw materials to fix that. So how do you do this? Well, your brain outside of water is made primarily of fat. And so if you want to repair your brain cells, repair your neurons, repair your glial cells, by the way, the glial cells are the support cells in the brain that are part of your immune system, help with neurotransmitter production and so forth. If you want to help these repair, you want to get healthy fats. Dave Asprey has a great phrase about this. He says, do you want a fish oil brain or a French fry brain? So whatever fats you eat, those could be used to make new brain cells and repair brain cells. So it's really important you eat high quality fats so that way your brain has the raw materials to make high quality brain cells. The best brain cells are made of omega-3 fatty acids, in particular DHA. DHA is found primarily in fish oil, also algae. If you're vegan and you don't want to consume fish oil, you can do omega-3 algae oil. Things like flax seeds and chia seeds have another type of omega-3 called ALA. This is converted into DHA, but only 5% is converted. So you have to eat a lot. So if you're serious about repairing your brain, I highly recommend fish oil or omega-3 algae oil. Now, how much omega-3s do you need? This is a great question. I recently interviewed Dr. Brant Courtwright, who wrote the great book, The Neurogenesis Lifestyle. He shared with me that you want 4,000 milligrams of EPA and DHA a day to repair and maintain a healthy brain. 4 grams. So think 2 grams EPA, think 2 grams DHA. He also said that for people who are seriously repairing their brain, you can go up to 10 grams. Now, of course, check with your doctor first, and you want to make sure that you don't have certain conditions. Like if you're susceptible to brain bleeds, you want to check with your doctor before taking high doses of fish oil. You are responsible for your health, not me. But those who take high doses of fish oil, like 10 grams, that gives them tons of healthy fat that their brains can use to repair brain cells and help make new brain cells. Also, high levels of omega-3 fatty acids increase neurogenesis, increase the growth of new brain cells. So it provides the raw materials and it increases the growth of new brain cells. So that was probably the number one supplement to take to help repair the brain. Another great supplement to help repair the brain is a methylated B complex vitamin. Research from Dr. David Smith at Oxford found that those who take a methylated B complex vitamin and a fish oil supplement have a 30% reduction in the risk of Alzheimer's disease. Why? Well, B complex vitamins are necessary to make energy and necessary to make certain neurotransmitters. So when you combine lots of healthy fats, the raw materials to make new brain cells, with B complex vitamins, these work really synergistically together. So make sure you have a high quality methylated B complex vitamin. Next, exercise. Exercise is one of the best ways to grow new brain cells. Here's why. When we contract our muscles, and we can do either aerobic exercise or resistance training, so resisting against something, so lifting something heavy or pushing something, doing these type of exercises has our muscles release something called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. That's a growth factor that facilitates the growth of new brain cells, new neural connections, and the repair of brain cells. Really big deal. So exercise actually helps your brain repair itself. So if you just had a concussion or stroke, I'm not recommending strenuous exercise. But if it's safe for you to exercise, mild to moderate exercise is a really good idea to dramatically increase your brain and body's BDNF levels. Exercise is the best way to raise BDNF levels. In fact, research from Dr. Kirk Erickson and colleagues at the University of Pittsburgh found that older adults who did regular exercise grew a bigger brain than those who did just stretching. So in their study, they did scans of people's brains. They had them exercise. I think it was 6 months, and then they looked at their brains 6 months later. And what they found after doing exercise 3 or 4 times a week, and what they found was the people doing exercise had significantly bigger brains, specifically in the hippocampus, the memory center of your brain. So exercise helps you grow a bigger brain and helps you repair. So we got sleep, we got exercise, we got some supplements. I would like to thank our sponsor, Microingredients. All of Microingredients products are third-party tested, so you know they are the highest quality. I've been using Microingredients products for the past 2 years before they were sponsored of the show because they are so high quality. They have a great collagen supplement. This helps reduce wrinkles. It's great for your skin, hair, and nails. MCT oil is great for your brain. I love to add this to my coffee. Collagen is also good in the coffee. The organic blueberry mix, I add that to my smoothies and desserts. Their new curcumin supplement is excellent. MCT oil is one of my favorites. It stands for medium chain triglyceride oil. This is basically coconut oil on steroids. When you add this to your coffee, it basically replaces dairy in your coffee. That's really good for you. And the MCT oil becomes energy for your brain. And so people notice an improvement in memory. They notice improvement in brain fog. Research in patients with Alzheimer's disease who take MCT oil, it improves their memory. Dr. Dale Bredesen, who wrote the book, The End of Alzheimer's, recommends 3 tablespoons of MCT oil a day. Don't start there. Start smaller and then work up. If you take too much, you can get disaster pants. This is my favorite MCT oil. Let me tell you why. Number 1, USDA organic coconuts, very important. Number 2, it is third-party tested like all microingredients products. Number 3, it's a powder. So the powder is more gentle on your stomach than the MCT oil liquid. So this is great. And then lastly, it has prebiotic fiber. So it feeds your good gut bacteria. If you'd like to try some of microingredients MCT oil, go to Amazon and then search MCT oil and then use the code RobertLove at checkout to save 10%. Some other supplements that are really great for repairing the brain. Curcumin is neuroprotective. So that protects the brain, but that also can help increase neurogenesis, which is the growth of new brain cells. And then I mentioned this one before, lion's mane is great for repairing the brain because it's anti-inflammatory, so that protects the brain. Lion's mane improves sleep, so that'll help with your sleep. And lion's mane can help grow new brain cells by increasing BDNF levels as well. Lion's mane also increases NGF. That stands for nerve growth factor. So lion's mane does both of those. So lion's mane is a great thing to add to your supplement regimen, not only for your sleep to help repair your brain, but also to help increase growth factors that repair your brain. And there's a peptide I want you to know about that is really interesting and really powerful. There's a lot of data on this. I recently looked up some of the data on stroke and traumatic brain injury with this peptide. The peptide is called cerebrolysin. Cerebrolysin. It is legal to possess in the United States, but as of right now is not legal for a doctor to prescribe it to you, which is interesting. But you can have it if you can find it. But please work with a medical professional if you're going to be using cerebrolysin. It's really important that you're safe and you know what you're doing. In Mexico, you can actually get cerebrolysin as a prescription drug. In Europe, they will give cerebrolysin to people who've had a car accident. And so what cerebrolysin does is dramatically increases growth factors in the brain, like brain-derived neurotrophic factor, like nerve growth factor, glial growth factor. It dramatically raises growth factors in the brain, which helps repair the brain and protect the brain. So if someone has a concussion or a car accident in Europe, they'll often give them cerebrolysin so that they can recover from their traumatic brain injury. And there's lots and lots of research. You can go to something called Google Scholar, type in cerebrolysin stroke, cerebrolysin Alzheimer's, or cerebrolysin traumatic brain injury. And you can read a lot of research, a lot of data on the safety of cerebrolysin. The research shows cerebrolysin is as safe as a placebo. So basically, the amount of side effects people have when taking cerebrolysin are the same amount of side effects in the placebo group. So it's as safe as taking a placebo. And the benefits are tremendous. If the government allows doctors to prescribe cerebrolysin, that will be a tremendously wonderful thing for people in the United States who want to repair their brain, reduce the risk of Alzheimer's, recover from stroke, and so forth. So if you want to get cerebrolysin and get it through a doctor, you need to leave the United States. The closest place is Mexico. Interestingly, the stem cell clinic that I go to get my stem cells now offers cerebrolysin, because I was talking with them and they told me it's a prescription drug there, and I said, you can offer cerebrolysin to your patients, and that'd be a really good thing, especially for patients who are over age 65 who want to reduce the risk of Alzheimer's disease. So cerebrolysin, you can look that up. And by the way, Brian Johnson, one of the world's leading anti-aging experts, he did a video on cerebrolysin, and he said that that is one of the best treatments he's done to improve his mental clarity. By the way, please don't start with cerebrolysin. Start with the most important things: a healthy diet. So a healthy diet with lots of nutrients to make a healthy brain, which includes the healthy fatty fish, so the smash fish, salmon, mackerel, anchovies, sardines, and herring. I got that from Dr. Dale Bredesen, who wrote the great book, The End of Alzheimer's. So these healthy fatty fish with lots of omega-3 fatty acids and low in mercury, healthy protein, organic fruits and vegetables. Eliminate processed foods because those harm the brain. So don't eat processed foods. Reduce or eliminate gluten because gluten can be harmful for the brain by increased inflammation. And then drinking plenty of water, getting your sleep, getting your exercise, and then you can take your supplements. And then if you're doing all those and you're still not seeing the results that you'd like to get, you can consider pursuing cerebrolysin. But don't start with the most expensive. It is expensive and difficult thing to do. Start with what's accessible to you and what's free, which is the diet, the exercise, and the sleep. And there's one more supplement that's really great for brain recovery. It's called aniracetam. It's spelled ANIRACETAM. This is a former prescription drug that is available in the United States without a prescription. It is legal to buy, it is legal to sell, it is legal to possess, but a doctor can't prescribe it to you. And now many pharmacies have been asked not to make it, but it is legal in the United States. Doctors don't know about it. There's great research on aniracetam. So I learned about this from Dave Asprey. So aniracetam in double-blind, placebo-controlled trials, listen how powerful this is. It improves memory in patients with Alzheimer's disease. There's a large study in Italy. And it was a multi-center study, so it was happening in different places around Italy. And there are two groups, a placebo group and an aniracetam group. So these people had Alzheimer's disease. So you expect their memory to continue to decline. So that's what we found in the placebo group. Their memory went like this over time. The aniracetam group, it went down, it leveled off, and then went up. And so people who took aniracetam in this double-blind, placebo-controlled study, these people with Alzheimer's disease, they actually improved their memory over 6 months compared to the placebo group, which went down. Amazing. Aniracetam works in several ways. One of the primary functions is it increases BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, and aniracetam increases an important neurotransmitter called acetylcholine. Acetylcholine. This is an important neurotransmitter involved in memory in the hippocampus, the memory center of your brain. It's also involved in motor movement. I recently published a paper in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease on the benefits of aniracetam, suggesting that aniracetam would likely reduce the accumulation of amyloid plaque in the brain because of its many benefits to the brain. Aniracetam is safe for healthy adults. A dose is between 500 milligrams and 1,500 milligrams. Of course, check with your doctor first. It is a pharmaceutical. Now, the research on aniracetam is really impressive. And so I can talk about, they've done a lot of research in animals. And so they had rats, and they'd give rats a concussion by kind of hitting them with, they give rats a concussion. And then a week later, they'd give them aniracetam. Now, before they gave the rats a concussion, they would have them learn a maze, either a water maze or a different maze. And then they give them a concussion, and then they give them aniracetam for 2 weeks, and then they'd retest them. The mice who took aniracetam remembered the maze better than the mice who had a concussion but did not take aniracetam. So post-concussion, aniracetam improves memory recovery. That's really cool. So if someone I loved, God forbid, had a serious accident and they lost their brain function or they hit their head, I would find some fish oil, some B-complex vitamin, and some aniracetam. By the way, you want to take aniracetam with fat to increase absorption. Interestingly, I took some aniracetam today because I'm recording a bunch of podcasts and I wanted my brain to be really sharp and good. So I took 750 milligrams of aniracetam today to improve my cognitive function. Also, interestingly, if you go to a concert, aniracetam increases the likelihood of chills down the spine. So that's really fun. I've had that a couple times where I've taken aniracetam, a great song came on, and I got those delightful chills down my spine. And I've read other forums where people report that same thing happening as well. So that happens to a number of people. So if someone I knew had a serious accident, God forbid, I would give them fish oil and B-complex vitamins and aniracetam and lion's mane. And then, if they still need help, I'd probably bring them down to Mexico and get them cerebrolysin. That is what I would do. And of course, make sure they're getting good sleep and plenty of exercise. And I'm actually putting this in my living will. So if God forbid anything happens to me, I want to have this written out that this is what I want done medically to help my brain recover as soon as possible if anything were to happen. So those are some sophisticated things that you can do. The most important things are making sure you're getting good sleep, good exercise, good diet, and low stress. That'll help your brain repair itself, and then you can consider taking some supplements to help. If you or someone you love has Alzheimer's or another form of dementia, I want you to know there is hope. Alzheimer's is preventable, and it is even reversible. In fact, we are reversing Alzheimer's in my medical clinic here in Florida. My partner and medical director is Dr. Josh Hellman, a medical doctor trained at Harvard who specializes in preventing and reversing Alzheimer's disease. And we are reversing Alzheimer's in our patients. If you'd like to learn more about working with us to both prevent Alzheimer's and even reverse Alzheimer's and reverse memory loss associated with other forms of dementia, we would love to hear from you and send you some free information so you can learn what we are doing and see if it's a fit for you to come down and work with us in our clinic. We also work with other clinics around the country to help patients both prevent Alzheimer's as well as to reverse Alzheimer's and reverse memory loss associated with dementia. So if you'd like to learn more, go to brainpowerclinics.com. Go to brainpowerclinics.com and then enter your information. We will send you some free information, and then we hope to work with you if we can be helpful to you to help you prevent and reverse Alzheimer's disease. Next question was about sauna. Someone asked, how much sauna should I do? How often should I do it? This is a great question. Sauna has shown to be tremendously beneficial for the brain and the body overall. Sauna actually helps improve insulin sensitivity. I learned that from Dr. Casey Means in her new book, Good Energy. So many benefits of sauna, of getting hot. This is really good for our mitochondria, and it's great for our brain. It's great at reducing the risk of many different chronic diseases. Here's just a brief summary on the data. I'm going to use round numbers because the results are so profound. Just wait till you hear them. So number one, in Finland, those who did sauna 4 times a week or more for 20 minutes or more had approximately a 50% reduction in the risk of heart disease, in the risk of stroke, in the risk of Alzheimer's disease. It's actually higher, and a lot of times it was 60%, but I'm just saying 50 just to show you how big it is. So those who do sauna 4 times a week or more for 20 minutes have approximately a 50% reduction, more than a 50% reduction in the risk of heart disease, stroke, and Alzheimer's. Those are some of the biggest risks we face in life. Those are some of the biggest causes of death for people over age 65. Certainly in the United States, heart disease is the number one killer by far. Imagine if you could reduce your risk of heart disease, cut that in half just by sitting in a sauna for 80 minutes a week. And while you're in the sauna, you can have conversations with people in the sauna. You can meditate. You can put an iPad outside the sauna. You can watch a movie. You can listen to a podcast. You can do all kinds of things. You can read a book. And so it's not time that you lose. It's actually time that you can use to relax. And many people enjoy a sauna. I love a good sauna. So sauna has tremendous benefits for the brain and for your health. It improves insulin resistance, and sauna improves sleep. So if you do a sauna 2 hours before bed, this can improve your quality of deep sleep. Here's why. When we sleep, our body temperature drops by about a degree or more. And so we want to make it easy for us to get cooler at night, which is a good reason why you want to have a cool bedroom. A bedroom between 60 and 70 degrees is good. I like about 65. That's a really good temperature for your bedroom. So why would a sauna be a good idea before bed? Well, when you heat your body up, when you heat your core temperature up in the sauna, when you leave the sauna, your body's actually working to bring your temperature down. And so your body's already trying to bring your core temperature down. And then when you get into bed, it's already in the process of cooling you down. And so you actually dip lower and you can actually get better quality sleep. And this is what we find in the research. So sauna is tremendous. 2 hours before bed is probably the best time. If you do it right before bed, you're going to be too hot to fall asleep. So try to do it 2 hours before bed. Great part of an evening ritual or your bedtime ritual. And so the research shows the maximum benefit happens 4 to 7 times a week. 4 to 7 times a week. So if you want that huge benefit, ideally you need a minimum of 4 times a week for 20 minutes or more. 4 times a week, 20 minutes or more. That's the maximum benefit you're going to get. When I have access to a sauna, I like to do it every day because I like it. It's enjoyable, and it helps detox the body, especially an infrared sauna. And I like it to help me sleep. So the sleep benefits are there every day that you do it. That's the amount you want to do it to get the maximum benefit. Now, there are benefits just to doing it 1 day a week. They're less, but they are significant. So just doing any sauna at all is helpful. So I would do sauna as much as your schedule permits. If you have access to a sauna and you can go to it once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, great. If you can do 3, see if you can do 4, if that works for you. Now, I want to make sure that so accessing a sauna, buying a sauna is expensive. And so make sure you really like it before investing. And you don't need to do it every single day. And If you don't like sauna, if you despise it, or if you'd much rather do something else, then I recommend you do something else and find a different health practice. For example, you may hate sauna, but you might like red light, or you may hate sauna, but you might like cold plunge. You may hate sauna, but you really like exercise. So do health practices that you enjoy, that you find nourishing. That way they are sustainable. And so the last thing I want you to do is to do a health practice that you absolutely hate because it's not going to be sustainable. So I don't recommend running to people who hate running. Maybe you want to chase your grandkids around the house, or maybe you want to play tennis or go hiking or go dancing. Find physical activity you like and then do sauna as much as fits your schedule to the extent that you like it. I wouldn't force yourself to do sauna. Now, if you're a little bit afraid of it, that's different. I was afraid of cold showers and cold plunge when I first got started. Now I love them. And so get over that initial hump and be willing to step into a hot environment for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, see how it goes, and start to learn to like the process, because it's fun to have your body sweat and to have your body working hard to create homeostasis. And the health benefits are just tremendous. Our next question was about attention deficit disorder, ADHD. So the question was how to manage ADHD. So I'm going to give you some of the best behaviors that can help you with ADHD. Now, this is something I'm very familiar with. I have ADHD. I was diagnosed when I was in second, third grade. During lower school, I took Ritalin. In middle and high school, I took Ritalin, and then in college, I took Adderall, and I took Adderall as an adult. I'm still prescribed Adderall, but I rarely take it. And so I understand this very well. I also, prior to getting into Alzheimer's prevention and reversal, I was doing work in ADHD and working with clients on helping them with ADHD. So I'm very familiar with this. There's three pillars to helping with ADHD symptoms. Number one is exercise or movement. Number two is your diet. And number three is sleep. You need all three of these to manage this. So, and ADHD, by the way, is different in men than in women. Women who have ADHD often have trouble organizing. Men are much more likely to display hyperactivity, so the need to physically move. And so let's start with exercise. What saved me in school was playing sports. In middle school and high school, my grades dramatically improved compared to lower school. I credit in part because I was playing sports every day after school, and that helped me get out my energy. And when I'd come home from sports, I was actually able to study, and that really helped. And I could get through the day knowing that I was going to have a chance to expend as much energy as I wanted on the playing field. That was really, really important. So regular exercise, I say daily exercise. If you have a child who has ADHD, I would get them involved in a sport immediately, and ideally have them be playing it every day. If not, if that's not available, as often as possible, but have them doing something physical after school every day, and potentially before school. There's not often a lot of time before school, but daily physical exercise. And then I've carried on that practice as an adult. I like to exercise as many days as I can. It's not every day, but I like to exercise as often as I can between 3 and 4 p.m., starting my exercise between 3 and 4 p.m., because that's when I would do it in school. So my body is used to that. And at exercise, it's a great break in my day, and it prepares me to work in the evening. I like to work in the evening, and it allows me to get out the kind of tension in my body from the day. So find exercise you like and that your child will like, and that's what's one of the best things you can do to help manage ADHD symptoms, and find a really good sport. Next is diet. In the United States, we have a terrible diet. It's called the Standard American Diet, or the SAD diet. It is high in processed food, high in sugar, high in bad fats, low in high quality protein, low in fruits, low in vegetables. This is a recipe for disaster for the ADHD brain and anyone's brain. There's a reason that ADHD is dramatically on the rise, as is obesity, as is diabetes, as is childhood cancer. It's our food. Our food is absolutely awful. Thankfully, it looks like this administration and the government is doing something about it, and many state governments are taking action. For example, water. What's in our water really matters. And Florida and Utah are getting rid of water fluoridation, which is really, really smart. I've been talking about the dangers of water fluoridation for the brain since I was in graduate school at the University of Texas. I would go down to city council with Fluoride-Free Austin and talk about the science of why this is so bad for, in particular, children, but why just fluoride in the water is just really bad public policy. It's a bad idea. It's dangerous for the developing brain, and dangerous for healthy adults as well. So you want to be drinking clean water. And you want to be eating food that is not contaminated with the pesticides and herbicides of conventional farming, and you don't want these chemicals in them that have been added to our food. So the red 40, the yellow number 5, the blue colors. Skittles are one of the worst foods to eat for ADHD, or just generally speaking. They really spike insulin and glucose, and they have lots of artificial colors that are associated with increases in ADHD. So you got to clean up the diet. So remove the ultra processed foods. If it comes in a box, if it's not from a tree or from the ground or directly from an animal, reconsider whether or not you want to give that to your child or to yourself, because the processed foods eating processed foods dramatically increase the risk of ADHD. So you want to clean up your diet. I recommend organic fruits, organic vegetables, healthy protein. Healthy protein can be grass-fed beef, wild-caught salmon, sardines. I really like the pickled herring that they sell at Costco and at Whole Foods, pastured eggs, pasture-raised chicken. You can do bison, venison, really high-quality meats and animal products. You can also do you can do vegetarian or vegan if you like. You can do beans, you can do lentils, but get high quality protein and get enough high quality protein. This is really important for ADHD because protein contains amino acids that we use to make dopamine. Dopamine is a very important neurotransmitter involved in focus, memory, and attention. Many or most of the ADHD drugs work by increasing dopamine. And so there's an amino acid in protein that we use to make dopamine called L-tyrosine. L-tyrosine, you may have heard me talk about this. This is an amino acid found in protein that's a precursor to dopamine. So when you eat healthy protein, this gives your brain and body the raw materials to make dopamine. And dopamine is having adequate levels of dopamine is really important in helping manage ADHD. So diet directly affects ADHD symptoms. Number one, if you eat processed foods, that can increase ADHD symptoms. Number two, when you eat healthy food, particularly healthy protein, this can help manage ADHD symptoms by providing enough L-tyrosine to the brain and body to make dopamine. So you got to eat a clean diet, and then sleep. Sleep, we already mentioned, so important. And I recommend stopping schoolwork, stopping homework, stopping work 2 hours before bed to give the brain a time to relax. As I would do schoolwork right up until I got into bed. I would do homework, or I do work recently right up until bed. That impaired my sleep. Working right up until bed impairs most people's sleep. Give yourself time to wind down. Really important for ADHD. And ADHD people may benefit from L-theanine at night to help wind down. Lion's mane is one of my favorite supplements for ADHD because lion's mane reduces stress and anxiety. A lot of people experience more stress and anxiety who have ADHD. Lion's mane improves memory. That's good for ADHD. And lion's mane helps with sleep. And so that's really good. So lion's mane can be very helpful for people with ADHD, as are some of the other supplements we talked about, fish oil, and then creatine. Creatine is really great, especially if you can take it before and after exercise to improve physical health and muscle health. Creatine also is recently shown to improve cognition. There's a fantastic study that was just published. They had 19 people. These people had Alzheimer's disease. They've been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. You'd expect their memory to go down. In this study, they gave them 20 grams, very high dose, 20 grams of creatine a day. And then after a certain amount of time, they measured their cognition. They measured their memory, their verbal fluency, multiple measures of cognition. All of them significantly improved in 19 people over the course of this study on 20 grams of protein. I don't recommend you start with 20 grams of protein. Certainly, if you're under 18, a good starting dose for most adults is 5 grams a day. 5 grams a day can provide your brain with more energy. Creatine helps your mitochondria make energy, and that can improve ADHD symptoms, also improve your general energy and your general health as well. And creatine also has anti-aging benefits. So those are some of the most important things you can do to help manage ADHD symptoms without prescription drugs. I'm not telling you not to take prescription drugs. Please, of course, check with your pharmacist and medical doctor. But these are some natural, really powerful things that you can do to manage ADHD symptoms. Daily exercise, really good sleep, high quality food, those are the most important. And then you can take some supplements as well. And make sure you enjoy your exercise. Life is meant to be enjoyed. Moving our bodies is fun. So find some physical movement you really enjoy. That'll really make a big difference.